And good morning, good evening, or whenever you're watching this great podcast, the 214 Sports Show. Welcome in. I'm Joseph Duffy, joined as always with TJ Krilowicz, my wonderful co-host. TJ, how you doing on episode 69, the George Hegamin episode?
The George Hegamin episode. Feeling pretty good about that, Joe. I'm also feeling pretty well. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, George Hegamin, number 69, the Dallas Cowboys back in the 90s. Someone argued the best number 69 the Cowboys have ever had. They only had like about four of them. But it's not exactly a Hall of Fame kind of number that they've had people don. But, he's a tackle, former guard, the biggest player you said that was drafted in the 94 draft, I believe you said.
Yep, 94.
Yeah, won a ring for the Cowboys back in their spectacular run in the 1990s. But we have a lot to dive into in this episode between the Stars and their playoff hunt against the Oilers. The Texas Rangers' offense is still just trying to find its identity, while its pitching staff has looked stellar as well. And then also the Mavericks and what could they fill in for the injured Kyrie Irving in a point guard position that, will not be filled in until probably late January or February of next year, as they'll probably add Hooper Flag, but not have someone who's a primary ball handler. So will it be Drew Holiday? Will it be Chris Paul? We'll talk about that on this episode. So we'll start with the Dallas Stars, who lost game four, three straight losses now after a crazy comeback victory in game one against the Edmonton Oilers in the American Airlines Center. The Stars lose game four. Leon Draisaitl and Corey Perry both had a goal and an assist each in Edmonton. Oilers were 2 for 3 on the power play. The Stars were 1 for 4. Really, the story of the game, and the Oilers won 4-1. TJ, why did the Stars lose this game, in your opinion, besides the obvious of those stats I just said? But in your opinion, why did the Stars lose this game the most?
Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about the power play, the 2 out of 3 and the 1 out of 4. Those were the three goals scored all game, minus the empty netters that the Oilers got at the very end of the game. So very, very critical that these special teams were going to get played. This is how we basically got beat by Edmonton last year. And the other reason why we got beat by Edmonton last year, which is definitely the other big reason, is Stuart Skinner and his play in net for Edmonton. Um, just an incredible performance, something that you can't even predict from Stuart Skinner. It's hard to know when he's going to be a good goalie or when he's going to be the goalie that everybody all knows and loves, which is giving up multiple goals. He's just been a big wall for the Dallas Stars. They can't get past him. They can't figure him out. They're finally out shooting Edmonton in these last two games, but to no avail. They've gotten 1 goal apiece. Jason Robertson getting both of those goals. But I mean, it's all Stuart Skinner for Edmonton. They can score goals. We know that. And there's really no stopping them scoring goals. It's going to be it's very, very tough to stop Edmonton's offense, especially when you give them dumb penalties like the Mason Marchment penalty and as well as Jamie Benn's penalty in Game 4. They're gonna take advantage, and they took advantage. They took very big advantage, and that's the reason why we're down 3-1. The power play, Stuart Skinner, not a good recipe for the Dallas Stars right now.
And speaking of Mason Marchman, his collision with Zach Hyman, the left winger for the Oilers, will sideline Hyman for the rest of the Oilers' potential postseason hopes. So he won't be playing for Game 5 against the Stars in this Western Conference Finals. Is there still hope for the Dallas Stars? 3-1 series. I don't know if you're willing to go all the way, but is there still hope? We've seen this team show life when they look absolutely lost out there, when all hope is lost, rather. But is there still a chance for this Dallas Stars team?
Well, Joe, as I have kind of told you before, it's the first team to four. First team to 4 wins. Has Edmonton gotten the 4 wins yet? Not yet. So there's always hope in the back end of this series. I think that the Stars, look, it make it seem very simple, but you got to figure Stuart Skinner out. Once you figure Stuart Skinner out, we have a chance. The Stars, they looked pretty. I mean, you talk about the first two games. in Dallas. The first game we win because of the power play, and I think we scored three power play goals in 5 minutes. In game two, we don't even score a single goal, give up three. In both of those games, the Stars were outshot. These last two games in Edmonton, the Stars have actually been the team that's out shooting Edmonton or the other team. That's something that's really rare. We saw them in the first two series against Colorado and Winnipeg, getting outshot basically every game, still finding ways to win. That's Dallas Stars hockey. And unfortunately, they finally were able they finally were able to get more shots on net than Edmonton or the other team, and it's still not working out for them. They really need to figure out Stuart Skinner because they're getting pucks on net now. They're getting pucks on net, and they're still not scoring as much as they usually do. Um, but I'll say there's hope. I'll say there's hope. You got Pete DeBoer, who I guess a lot of fans are saying that he needs to be gone for some reason. I think that that's kind of a radical take. I think that you can calm down a little bit there. I don't know how many better options there are than Pete DeBoer out there. He's good. Potentially going to lose his sixth Western Conference final in the last 7 years. That's not good. I can kind of get why some fans are getting to that point, but I mean, he's 9-0 in game sevens. All right. I'm gonna make it seem very simple for the Dallas Stars. You win in front of your home crowd in game five. You show some fight. Whether that means getting more hits on the players because Edmonton's getting hits on us. All right. They're wearing us out with these hits. The Stars can't say much. They are not doing much. I guess you could say that Mason Marchment did some damage last game, but I don't really think that that was. I don't know. I don't really like talking about injuries. Um, I think that um, I think that the Dallas Stars, if they can win Game Five at home, then they have the daunting task of going to Game Six against Edmonton in Alberta, and don't know how that's going to work. Don't know how that's going to work, but the Stars, they're a gritty team. We've seen this happen before where it seems like all hope is lost and they somehow pull out a win. They've done it before. I think of games like Game 7 against Colorado. I think of games like Game 3 against Colorado. I think of a lot of those games where the Stars look dead in the water. They're not scoring any goals. And then all of a sudden, they turn it up or make that goal whenever it matters most. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that against Edmonton yet. I guess you could say that game one was basically that version. Um, but that's what the Stars are. I mean, I think they have at least three comebacks in these playoffs where they're down 2 goals in the third period. They can do that. They can do that. They can come back. They're going to have to win that first period, man. I'm so sick and tired of watching them lose that first period, especially on the road. I think they're getting outscored 10-0 in the first period in these playoffs on the road. So they haven't scored a goal in the first period of a road game so far. They've played what? One, two, three, four, five, six. They've played 8 road games. No goals in the first period. It's unbelievably embarrassing. They need to win those first periods. I should have said that as the goal to getting back into the series. But I don't know. At the same time, I'm still a little worried about that because you get that lead against Edmonton, they're still going to find a way to come back because they're a very good offensive team. So I don't know. And then at last, if they can win game 6, they go to game 7, Pete DeBoer 9-0 in game 7s, it's done deal. Done deal. Stars win game 7. All right. They just need to win the next 2 games. Very unlikely, but I have hope.
And
I
on the
hope
bright
that's a good
side,
explanation.
yeah, and on the bright side, the game seven would be at home. And you look at this team. You were talking about the physicality. Edmonton had 46 hits in game four compared to Dallas's 23, like you
Awful.
were talking about. I mean, it's not even close. Out physicaling the Stars at every turn. So I do like what you're saying. Just of course that it's the first to four, and you don't see a four there yet. But just get to that sweet spot record that Pete DeBoer has, who was getting unfairly criticized, like you were saying. But just get to that sweet spot record of 9-0 in game sevens, and who knows what could happen there. We've seen crazier in hockey. Nobody thought the Stars were going to come back against the Avalanche and that winner right there this last round. But against the Oilers, you don't want to say it's over just yet. So holding out hope just like you here.
Yeah, and this is kind of a stupid comparison, I think maybe I shouldn't have started out with that, but I think of it's just really weird to see how some of these offensive players for the Stars have just kind of disappeared, and a lot of these players who were high impact players, high impact goal scorers for this team, like Mason Marchment, like unfortunately Mikko Rantanen this entire season, like Matt Duchene, like Wyatt Johnston, these players who aren't scoring, and Jason Robertson before games 3 and 4. Um, it's weird that this happens almost every year with Dallas. They'll always have some kind of player that was huge for them in the playoffs kind of go and be a little quiet, you know? I think that Edmonton right now, all their players that showed up in the regular season, they're really showing up in the playoffs. That's what we don't have. And that's unfortunately a very bad trait to have as a team. We have a lot of the opposite of playoff risers, unfortunately. And maybe they need to mature a
Dang.
little bit. And I'm talking about Wyatt Johnson. Maybe he needs to mature a little bit. He's still very young.
Jeez.
But players like Mikko Rantanen and Matt Duchene, there's no excuse for how they've been playing and um, how quiet they've been in these recent games. Um, Especially Matt Duchene, this entire playoffs, even Mason Marchment, Tyler Seguin these last few series. All of these players need to show up, or at least just a couple of them, and you can win. And I was going to compare this to kind of like, I think about the Mavericks and stuff. I think about playoffs with basketball. You do have a lot of players that disappear after having great or regular seasons. I think of like Dante Exum last year for the Mavericks. Amazing player for them all regular season, making clutch shot after clutch shot, almost became unplayable in the playoffs. And that's just what happens to some players. Unfortunately, in basketball, you can sub them out and not play them because you have other reserves. In hockey, you really can't. You have to keep playing them. I need to see some fight from them. I really need to see some fight from them, or there's going to probably be some big moves this offseason. I can already see Mason Marchment probably gone, maybe possibly Jamie Benn, possibly Matt Duchene. These are some players that if they don't show up in these bright lights, their Stars tenure looking pretty short, or not looking pretty short. I mean, Jamie Benn's tenure has been very long, obviously, but looking like it's going to be very soon that they'll be out of the victory green. They need to show up.
Well, so the Stars looking to put one more win in the win column in Game 5 in the American Airlines Center tonight at 7 o'clock against the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Finals. Let's see if they can stay alive. It's hard to close out a series sometimes in any sport, but especially in hockey when you're just desperately trying to get that fourth win against a hard-nosed team such as the Stars. So let's see if the Oilers can clinch this victory on the road or if the Stars can stay alive. Moving on to the Texas Rangers and TJ, I think we caught ourselves a ball game,
I think we caught ourselves a bussin' performance, didn't
a
we?
bussin' performance for sure. Well, I cannot believe he said that. He's a little late on that to be honest, but I don't know why
Bruce,
he used it in that manner. That's kind of
never
crazy.
change, Bruce Bochy. Never change.
Yeah, the Texas Rangers. We caught game two of this series against the Toronto Blue Jays with a couple of other buddies as well, but uh, more of the same from these Texas Rangers the past few weeks that we've seen them. Since this last episode that we've had, this team was struggling against the New York Yankees on the road, got swept in New York, and then almost got swept by the Chicago White Sox. I mean, it looked pretty grim this past weekend. And if it wasn't for a late comeback on Sunday against the White Sox, that could have been one of the more embarrassing sweeps that I've ever seen as a Rangers fan. I have no idea what is going on with this offense. I really couldn't tell you. And Corey Seager is coming back. Actually, he actually is coming back in Game 3 of the Blue Jays. This is pre-recorded, by the way, of course, as we say almost every episode. But Corey Seager is coming back in Game 3 against the Blue Jays. But even he is not that crazy of a boost for this offense. So I saw the stat on Twitter of this offense scoring around, 2.5 runs a game when he's not in the lineup, which he hasn't been in the past 2 weeks being on the IL. But even when he's in the lineup, just about 3.5 runs a game that they're scoring. So I really don't know what is left for this offense. I don't know what the move is of bringing Brett Boone, who is on a podcast, in as your new hitting coach is supposed to do. But so far, it's not looking like it's much of a change. And time is starting to run out. A third of the season is already completed, and we're still hearing the same thing. Is this offense going to wake up soon? How can they change? Nothing is changing at this point. We saw it right there in person in game two.
Yeah, yeah. And I think somebody on Twitter brought up a good point. They're very robotic with their batting. And it's very hard. I believe they took about 14 first pitch strikes um last year yesterday, or I guess Tuesday, sorry, at a certain point of the game. Um they find their ways to get in the really bad counts, and it's really all on them. They haven't been aggressive. There's no aggressive batting, and when they are aggressive, they strike out. Um, but even when they're not being aggressive, I mean, we saw that Tuesday night. We see that a lot of these games. I mean, this team is striking out looking a lot too. It's really hard to say if this team is going to change at any point. I don't think that they will. I hate to be the negative Nancy here, but I think that the Texas Rangers offense is cooked. I don't know what it is. We have tried to make all the changes we could. We've brought up multiple players. We brought up Evan Carter. We brought up Asuna in recent games. We brought up multiple players. We waived Leody Taveras, or we put him on waivers. We've changed the lineup. We put Simeon in the bottom half of the lineup. We put Josh Smith and Langford up top. And still, nothing is happening. Despite all this amazing pitching that the Rangers have had. It's so weird because you talk about the Rangers and their history, you've never really seen amazing pitching from this organization in all of their years in Texas. And now, recently, in these last few years, especially this year, they have been dominant with at least the starting rotation. The bullpen has been better from recent years, but that's not a big, that's not a huge congratulations to the bullpen because they were historically bad in 2023, as we all know.
Oh Lord.
But you have such an amazing staff for the starting rotation, and we still can't get it done on offense. We have all these young pieces in the lineup that it would be just seem like amazing. I don't know, just amazing offensive players. Just seems like you look at the lineup, you think they're going to be really good. Wyatt Langford's an amazing name or a great name now that people are afraid of. Josh Young was a great player in 2023. He's still doing good now, but still the no avail. We're not scoring. Corey Seager and Marcus Semien and Adolis Garcia, the veterans of this team, they're not doing what they used to do. I don't know how to fix this offense at this point. We've gone through a lot. We've tried a lot. We hired a new hitting coach. We just talked about that with Brett Boone. There's so many things that the Rangers have tried to do to make this offense better, and they have not been able to respond. So I'm not sure. I
I'll
don't think
give
this will
props to
change.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give props to the bullpen for how they pitched last night under duress. Nathan Eovaldi all of a sudden leaving out of nowhere, which I didn't catch until a replay. We were sitting up in the rafters. I was like, who's this lefty in the mound? Oh, that's Jacob Latz. Where did Evo go? Because I thought I was gonna catch an Evo game. I never caught him pitch. Still as a Rangers fan, and he had to leave prematurely. But props to the bullpen for finding a way to tough out a pitcher's duel, which it seems like is every Rangers game, a pitcher's duel. But I will say in this offensive side of the ball, I hate to be this guy, but there's a guy in particular that I'm really disappointed in, for the most part in this first half, and it probably is Wyatt Langford. Even though he technically has some of the best numbers of the season for the lineup, I thought he was going to be a little bit better. Josh Smith, I'm not expecting him to go crazy. He's a utility silver slugger guy, and he had, his best season that he's ever had last season. Jake Berger, of course, we expected more along with Jock Peterson as free agent acquisitions. Adolis Garcia, of course, we thought he'd at least be better, but last year he kind of already had a little bit of a fall off. But Wyatt Langford in particular, I thought he was going to take a really big leap this year, and maybe I'm being too harsh on him. But he got a hit last night, one of only six hits in the game two against the Blue Jays. But I expected a little bit more, aggressiveness from the plate from his point. I expected more home runs by now. I didn't expect an MVP season, but he's been hyped as, a Mike Trout kind of player who has great speed, who's kind of stocky like Mike Trout, who has, great outfield ability. And he's not been bad in center field since Evan Carter's been the IL. I'm not mad at his defensive plays, but at the plate, I don't know if I'm, too satisfied with what he's doing. What do you think about that? Am I being too harsh?
I don't think you are. I mean, one of the eye-popping stats is that he's got 10 home runs. He's the leader of the team in home runs this season. Also, by the way, I mean, I think it took him till he was not a home run hitter last year.
No,
He
he
ended up
wasn't.
hitting a lot at the end of September when the team was out of it already, but he was not a home run hitter. He's gotten a little bit more power now, so I don't know if I would really agree with saying that I expected more home runs from him. I think 10 is all right at this point of the season, but 21 RBIs on those 10 home runs. Very concerning in a way because that means you're basically just getting all your ribbies on home runs. He's not getting, I mean, and again, you can't really, I guess at times you can't really fault him for that. I would have to look at his runners and scoring position average because as far as I remember, last year he was a good player in the clutch with runners and scoring position, with knocking and runs. But he's not doing that. And I get that he's number two in the lineup now, so he doesn't have as many opportunities as what he was before, which was the number three or the cleanup or five or six or whatever. Um, but you'd like to see more RBIs when he's got a home run tally of 10. And so, and also, I guess we've seen his batting average slowly drop off. He's been now teetering around the 250 line. I expect him to be at least a 270 hitter, especially with all the offensive struggles that we've had. We need somebody to step up. I wish it wasn't the youngest guy on the team, but it has to be him.
I will say, this call up they've had Alejandro Osuna playing left field recently. I've been pretty satisfied in how he's playing as of late. In his first week of in major league action, he hasn't been too bad. Has a strong arm. Had a nice throw that we saw just a few days ago. I believe in the White Sox game. It ended up being a safe play at second, but he has a pretty strong arm, and he was the Rangers system defensive player of the month, I believe, last month, and he got the call up and he got to play in the past series that the Rangers competed in Chicago. I will say Josh Young has really been a very solid piece, and on Rangers Twitter, I don't know if you've noticed, but some people have been saying he could be, a trade target that could be sent off to bring up yeah, maybe I shouldn't. To bring up what's his name? Sebastian Walcott in our system, who is a nice prospect that's been played in the middle infield for the majority of his development. He's about 17 years old, soon to be 18, I believe. But, Josh Young, I'd hate to see him go, but I'd understand it at some point if he could be on another team and get something else in return to bring up this guy who's a future star, in my opinion. A nice, lengthy middle infield player who can possibly play the hot corner as well and bring a boost in the offensive side of the ball for the Rangers. And like you were saying, man, I don't know if it's going to turn around, but maybe I won't, be so down on and despondent until Corey Seager and Evan Carter and the whole roster is really healthy because I hate to be the excuse kind of guy, but it hasn't necessarily been the healthiest roster for the Bats.
And I hate to be the negative Nancy again, but I don't think there is a win when this team gets completely healthy. I think this team is just never going to be healthy. They never have in these last few years. I don't think that it will. They finally got completely healthy for the 2023 playoffs, and how did that turn out? It was a
Yeah.
great run, amazing run, one of the best runs ever. All right, I don't want to hear
The
people
best.
saying that. "Oh, it's the least watched World Series ever. Oh, the Rangers suck now.
We don't
Who cared
care.
about that? We don't care.
11 and 0 on the road.
11 and
Read
0
it,
on the
read it,
road.
and
Tell
weep.
me when another team does that, all right?
Whew.
Unbelievable.
Chills. I got chills. Nah, but it's very sad to close out this segment to see such elite pitching. I've never seen this in my life for the Rangers. Such elite pitching and somehow a below average offense. I've never seen this in my life. Usually it's at least a very mid offense, to teetering towards, a top 10 offense and just very, very bad pitching, roller coaster pitching.
Definitely a
That could be
roller coaster.
streaky and like we saw in the 2023 year. But you have three arms in the starting rotation that are top 10 in starting ERA, and this team is 2 games below 500. Below 500 as we post this episode for sure. So very rough to watch this season.
I would
So
definitely
moving
agree with
on,
that.
moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, the future team. Cross our fingers unless something goes crazy. The future team of the Cooper Flag Duke Blue Devil, who will be the number one projected draft pick in the NBA draft. Kyrie Irving, as we discussed before, of course, sidelined with that ACL injury, will now return probably at the latest, you know, in February or the earliest, I should say, in February or late January of next season. We'll miss a good amount of that first half of the year. And there's been rumors floating who could be the guy to replace his position as the starting point guard. Could it be Drew Holiday? Could it be Chris Paul? Spencer Dinwiddie and Dante Exum are free agents, as we pointed out about 2 weeks ago on the podcast, so they're not technically in the rotation as of now. But there's a hole that needs to be filled in. Could it be Dennis Schroeder? In your opinion, TJ, who should be the starting point guard come October for the Dallas Mavericks?
I really hope it's not Chris Paul. That's what I'll say. I think that Drew Holiday, Lonzo Ball are both good choices. I just want to see. I really don't know too much about the point guard free agent market. I mean, would you know like who are the top point guards this offseason? Would you really know for free
I would
agency?
probably say Drew, followed by Dennis Schroeder, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, those are quality point guards,
Yeah.
You could
I
say
I don't know about Dennis Schroeder.
you don't think so? Because
I wouldn't say
you're not gonna
so.
get a crazy one. You could say Fred VanVleet, but he's gonna ask for a lot of
Yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah. No,
Uh,
you make sense. It's just the Mavs have made it very obvious, and it's very, very obvious that they need a point guard. They need some kind of playmaker. Kyrie Irving's hurt, and we know that for a while. You already said that. Dante Exum, Spencer Dinwiddie, the two other kind of playmakers on the team. I know that a lot of people have kind of been uh, not really in favor of playing these two players that much as of late. People have not been happy with their performance. But those are the two main ones. And I guess you could say Brendan Williams and Jaden Hardy further down the line, but I don't think they're ready to start. Um, and so when you're desperate like this, it makes it hard to trade because people know they're going to be like, I want a little first round pick, all right? Or maybe the Mavs will have to take salary. And in that case, they might have to trade somebody with salary. And um, I don't know. I mean, I've seen all these rumors circling around about PJ Washington maybe being somebody who the Mavericks might shop this offseason. I think that that's I really hope that they're not going to be ultra aggressive in the trade market for a point guard. I think that they need to be more in the free agency market. If that's Drew Holiday, I think that that's the best. I think that that might be the best scenario for them. I hope that they still look at trades, but I think the teams are going to be too aggressive with their asking with the Dallas Mavericks, especially I think that a lot of GMs aren't really in favor with what Nico Harrison did back in February and also know that they could possibly not have to give up a big return to get stuff from the Dallas Mavericks. Um, but I mean the PJ Washington trade rumors, I don't like those. I hope that they're able to add a point guard without hurting the team's odds within other realms of the offense and defense. I don't want to see an addition with a subtraction. I want to see an addition. We've already seen enough bad subtractions from this team in the past few years. We don't need to give up more players just to get something that we really primarily need. So, I mean, I hope that it's somebody like Drew Holiday. They could pick him up in free agency. If not, I mean, look, Dennis Schroeder re-signed Spencer Dinwiddie. I know a lot of people don't like Spencer Dinwiddie on the Mavericks, but you have to do what you have to do. This is unfortunately where the Mavericks are at right now. Um, they're in a bad spot. They put themselves in a bad spot. I mean, I guess you could say since they have the first round pick, or not the first round pick, sorry, the first overall pick, they're not really in a bad spot, but I still think they are. They still don't have any really many future assets. They still don't have really good salary cap. They're aging now. They're not as young. I mean, a year ago from today, this team was so much younger. Nico traded that youth away for the experience, but it's kind of hard to win because I don't think the experience is going to be enough. I mean, you look at, I mean, is an Anthony Davis led team really going to win the championship? We've already seen Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday together as well, and that didn't go too successfully. So I don't know. I mean, it's tough, man. The Mavs are in a bad spot. I've been really negative this episode. I'm starting to catch on, but
I think
it's
it's
kind
going to
of
be a very, I'm not exactly the most positive guy when it comes to DFW sports as well. I've really settled down these past few years. Nothing to really have too much hope on besides, a World Series championship with the Rangers. But we've seen some heartbreaking losses in this 214 sports show tenure. Man, it's just been bad sometimes. And some heartbreaking trade news as well, as you just pointed out. But like you said, I don't know where they're gonna go with this. They're not in the best position between the salary, but also future assets. I think that they're gonna go the cheap route. I don't think it's gonna be a really like high quality point guard that's in the free agent market. If I could point out a name like maybe Malcolm Brogdon, who was on the Wizards this past year, had like 12 points per game.
that's a
I
great
wouldn't,
name.
I wouldn't be
That's a
stunned.
great name.
I wouldn't be stunned if they got him. He sounds like a Maverick. Malcolm freaking Brogdon. That sounds like a Malcolm. That sounds like a Dallas Maverick right there. I
Or
don't
if he
know
signed to
why.
Nike, if he signed to Nike, he's a Maverick. All right.
He's a Mav. Oh my Lord.
Nico's gonna go get him.
He sounds like a Maverick. I can see it right now in the blue and white. But even then, I would say Drew Holiday, but I feel like that asking price may be too much. A championship point guard, who was just, on the Boston Celtics, been on the Milwaukee Bucks, been on some high quality offenses. I don't know if they get him and then eventually have him as a backup to Kyrie because he's not moving to a two guard when Kyrie comes back. I don't
Hmm.
believe so.
Yeah,
Great defensive point guard for sure.
that's a
A
good
guy
point.
that Nico was trying to look for, right? He wants to build high quality defense. He'd be a good acquisition for the team. But I don't know if that price will be something he's willing to pay, for half a season. But also then for a guy who's not going to have as many minutes as when Kyrie Irving comes back. So. I really don't know. I feel like Malcolm Brogdon going the cheaper route might be the best option. Him or Schroeder.
Would you sign Chris Paul?
Definitely not. There's no way I'm starting a 40-year-old point guard. No way. Absolutely not. I'm sad that's even a rumor because I think they're
Welcome to your
saying
new starting point guard of the Dallas Mavericks. Number
my
three.
Lord. The point god
CP3.
from
I
Wake
think
Forest drafted in the
the
'05
PA
class.
announcer for the Mavericks, that the
Um,
GOAT, I forget his name.
Sean something. I can't remember his name.
And starting at point guard in his 35th NBA season, coming from Wake Forest, number three. Or no, he wouldn't say number three, Chris Paul. He was go
Hey, hey.
CP3. And he'll
My
have the
Lord.
echoing sound effect going on after he says three.
They're gonna be like, former first round pick. I can see the Shams tweet coming in. The former first round pick, future Hall of Fame point guard Chris Paul is signing a 1 year deal with the Dallas Mavericks. Don't gas it up, man. Don't gas it up. He's 40 years old, bro. 40. I get like the mentorship role that he's doing with the Spurs last year. There's no way this guy should start on our team. If you want to make the playoffs, no way.
I
No
kind
way.
of stopped listening to Shams after the Luka trade. I just found out the Shams only breaks my heart. Every single time that he gave out an update,
PTSD.
just seemed
Him
like it
looking
was
around.
bad news for the Mavericks.
Well, we'll end on a lighter note, some good news, and that is that you can follow us on social media. Episode 69 of the 214 Sports Show. Please like and subscribe to this video on YouTube and also on Spotify. We post there every Thursday at 11 a.m. We do thank you for joining us. Please like this video. Follow us on at 214 Sports Show on the YouTube. Also the same on Spotify. And we also have a TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter/X account at the 214 Sports Show. You can follow us on all three of those platforms where we post clips and try to spread our knowledge in the DFW sports scene. And TJ, do you want to probably drop your socials as well?
Absolutely. Oh, I'll definitely drop my socials. You can follow me on X/Twitter at TJ_Krilowicz. And you can also follow me on Instagram at TJ.Krilowicz.
And for me, you can follow me at Joseph_Duffy99 on Twitter/X, and also the same on Instagram, and then TikTok at Joe_Duffy. So once again, please like this video. We want to spread this podcast and keep growing at the 214 Sports Show on YouTube and Spotify. And this was the George Hegamin, episode 69 episode of the 214 Sports Show. For TJ Krilowicz, I'm Joseph Duffy. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.